Hello, guys. I am Shane Davis, 20-year comic book veteran, and doing this video solo today. And I find this very interesting. We've heard rumors that there was going to be big shakeups in the American comic book industry. And of course, that basically means Marvel and DC. If anybody on any level is talking about a big shakeup, that's basically where it's going to be. And this I find interesting for a couple of reasons. Basically, there is no faith, I think, in another reboot. This was one of the issues when I was still working at DC Comics is people like Dan DiDio didn't really feel like the market could take another reboot, but people were kind of fatigued with the books. And that was a tricky spot to find the American comic book industry. Some would call it superhero fatigue, whatever you want to call it. Retailers are tired of not knowing what to order or ordering too much or ordering too little. It's just the American comic book market not too stable, the material, anyways. So here we are, and Scott Snyder, absolute DC. Now, what is this going to be? It's pretty much going to be like the Ultimates. For people who don't know, if you go back, Marvel had at the time done a sub imprint, I guess an imprint, I guess I would call it, like a different type of universe at the same time with the normal Marvel books. And it was Ultimate Spider-Man and Ultimate X-Men at first by Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Miller. Now, what people didn't understand that was happening is those two were basically also on payroll. It is well rumored they were on payroll and looking over basically scripts for editors. So they were doing their books, but they were also kind of trying to help and guide Marvel Comics in getting some sort of, I guess, stable foundation in their books. Now, the Ultimate line was interesting experiment because it was basically without continuity. You guys could read the first Spider-Man origin story for the first time. You're there day one. And it had a lot of energy to it. And they were good books. They were good books. Adam Kubert did a hell of a job on Ultimate X-Men. Later on, we would find out that Mark Millar and Brian Hitch would do Ultimates, which was basically the framework for the MCU movie universe. And that's very important to all of this. I want to bring this up. Now, that was an interesting time in comics where Marvel basically had a lot of continuity, but needed to, do something new because movies were around the corner, right? They always kind of wanted to get movies going. The Spider-Man movies were doing really well. But what about the rest of the Marvel universe? The characters they still own that weren't tied up with Fox, like X-Men and so on and so forth. What's interesting about this is obviously we're getting ready to get another DC Comics movie universe with your boy from Guardians of the Galaxy, right? So why do this? Why do this imprint, right? And again, a lot of people are kind of like, oh, it's kind of like All Stars. Well, All Stars was a hot mess. None of the books were tied to one another. There were tons of books that were supposed to be part of All Stars, like Neil Adams' Odyssey, that wasn't. Again, there was like Adam Hughes Wonder Woman. It never happened. I was asked with multiple artists also to do a Ultimates Batgirl that I turned down. It was just a hot mess, no continuity. They were vanity books. And even the lead book, All Star Superman, was great, but it's a standalone. Again, All Star Batman, kind of the lead book, Jim Lee, Frank Miller, never finished. A couple of scripts there that have never been drawn. So Ultimates was a failure as far as a publishing imprint goes. My thing is there, why do this? Well, again, this brings me back to the beginning that there is no retail faith in a line wide reboot, and still stores are shutting down. How many titles could this be? Maybe 4, 5? I mean, Marvel barely did it, starting with 2, then 3, then eventually Ultimate Fantastic Four, and eventually the Ultimate line just kind of died when they kind of rolled some what worked into the main line. The interesting thing with this is two things. Scott Snyder coming back to DC Comics with this, right? He left DC Comics, went and did some stuff for Amazon, creator owned stuff, whatever, a Kickstarter. Now he's coming back to do absolute DC. I mean, yeah, it's a vanity thing, sure, but like what type of paycheck and on his terms is this happening? Or is it on his terms? Well, I bring that up. Is it possible James Gunn is telling this imprint what to do? This is the DC comic version of what will be a type of synergy with the new rollout and the new slate of movies and TV shows and stuff like that. That is a dangerous possibility here. Whereas, like, if you go back to the Marvel Ultimates line, That line was a big foundation for basically the MCU. A lot of cool stuff happened from Mark Millar's work in Ultimates that really worked well with the cinematic universe. A lot of stuff with Nick Fury. I mean, we wouldn't have Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury if it wasn't for Brian Hitch and Mark Millar. This, though, would be Hollywood telling comics what to do officially. Now, I'm sure there's tons of times this has actually happened. This will be the first time we possibly are going to be seeing Hollywood tell DC Comics what type of comic universe to do with this imprint. And that's why I'm kind of interested in it. Is this going to be very bold where there's like 12 titles in it? Or is it going to be boiled down to like a Superman and a Batman book? And granted, you're talking to a guy who the ultimate, I'm sorry, not ultimate, but Earth One, which was named Ultimates at first. A lot of people don't know that. And then Dan Dio pulled back the memo. It was called the Ultimate DC Comics. And somebody pointed out that's like Marvel. Was supposed to be single issues. And then through some cancellations of that line and then rebirth of that line as original graphic novel by Paul Levitz, it was supposed to be this stepping on point, no continuity. You're fresh off the street. Here is Superman. I've been a part of these type of initiatives, and they're kind of a nightmare with fandom because there's expectations for the publisher that you're actually going to do something new, something refreshing. Then you have the old fans, and pleasing them is a very hard thing to do. I do not think the creators or the woke agenda has to be ignored to do this correctly, because it's too easy to take one of these books, one of these characters, and just cater to a demographic for representation that really don't even buy the books. And really, DC Comics needs to get back to appeasing the old fans, which they haven't in quite some time. And a reboot isn't going to bring those old fans back if you're not making them happy. Now, I'm sure Mark Waid will be part of this also. I doubt Scott Snyder is doing all of this, but I do think Scott Snyder is kind of the shot caller under James Gunn. I really do believe that. I don't think this will be just Scott Snyder. I think James Gunn's going to be approving a lot of this. I think then Snyder's going to be like laying this out, and then other guys taking point, and hopefully they all work together and nobody gets in a big fucking fight. They probably will. It's like I'm interested to watch this, but I'm not interested in the idea of this line. Why? Because if you're a DC Comics fan, you can always just do a crisis and you don't need to do this. DC Comics has never needed to do this. There is no need for an Ultimates line. A company like Marvel, where they don't necessarily dump their continuity on their characters like DC Comics does every few years, they needed to do that. DC Comics can, with a snap of a finger, have a big galactic bad guy show up and do a crisis event with multiple universes and rejig everything they need. This is kind of unnecessary unless people in Hollywood seem to think it's necessary. Anyways, if you guys will hit like, subscribe, ring the bell for notification. Let me know what you think about this. I actually think it's got a horrible name, Absolute. For anybody that collects, books, like the Absolute editions were these big books that DC Comics would put out, like omnibus and stuff, oversized. Shane Davis's Axcend Level Up is up and funding. If you guys want, we got a few more weeks on this. Go check it out. And we're off to the printer with this. Inglorious Rex is printing right now. So you guys will be getting updates on that fairly soon. And we will catch you guys again with another video. Take care.
I dream of a world carefully crafted, beautifully flawed. This is Axcend. In this game of life, there is one thing that determines a victor. A player's ability to grow. A player's ability to evolve. A player's ability to survive. My name is Dog. Choose to play. Choose to upgrade. Choose to level up. Choose to Axcend.